Stop right now. Don't scroll. Don't click away. Don't let your mind slip back into the autopilot of endless distractions. You may think this is just another speech, another video lost in the sea of billions of voices, but it isn't. The fact that you're still here is proof. Proof that this moment is not random, not a coincidence, not luck. Out of all the possible choices you could have made in the last 10 seconds, you chose to stop here. That choice is not small. That choice is a signal. Most people would have kept moving. They'd have smirked, rolled their eyes, thought, oh, motivational fluff, and scrolled away. But you didn't. You stopped. You're here. And that one decision tells me you are already different. Do you see what that means? It means something in you, something real, raw, and undeniable, cut through the chaos of billions of distractions and locked onto this exact frequency. That's not noise. That's a signal, and it's yours. You might not even know why you're still listening. Maybe you meant to click away, but something made you pause. Something whispered, wait, this one feels different. And it is different. This isn't about giving you 5 minutes of dopamine before you go back to the same routine. This isn't about making you feel good in the short term. This is about confronting you with the truth that most people avoid their entire lives. Because distraction is easier than silence. Noise is safer than clarity. But silence forces you to ask the question most people fear. Am I truly living the life I want, or am I just existing? The reason you're here is not because of chance. It's because of everything you've done up to this point. You've been sending out signals without even knowing it. Every time you chose to keep going when quitting would have been easier, you sent a signal. Every time you pushed through exhaustion, rejection, doubt, you sent a signal. Every time you carried responsibilities that no one applauded you for, that no one even noticed, you sent a signal. Those signals built a frequency, and that frequency is why you are here. That is why these words feel different. I don't measure people by what they say, because talk is cheap. I measure them by what they endure. I measure them by the proof hidden in the quiet moments, the late nights, the times they held it together when no one was watching. And when I look at you, I see someone who has endured more than you give yourself credit for. I see the weight of expectations that you've carried, the invisible battles you've fought, the doubts that whispered you weren't enough, and the fact that despite all of it, you are still here. That alone sets you apart from almost everyone else. So let's be clear. The question isn't whether you're enough right now. No one starts out enough. When I built SpaceX, I wasn't enough to compete with NASA. When I built Tesla, I wasn't enough to take on the auto industry. I grew into it. Because growth doesn't happen before you act, it happens as you act. You don't wait until you're ready, because you'll never be ready. You move, and in moving you become ready. That's what you've already proven. You've proven you can move even when it hurts, even when you're tired, even when the world tells you to stop. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people waste their entire lives waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting to feel prepared. Waiting for permission. And they die waiting. That's the reality. But you've already shown you're not like the rest. You've shown it by stopping, by listening, by refusing to let this moment pass you by. That's the first step, and now comes the hard part, deciding what to do with it. Because this moment is not just another piece of content, another voice in the noise. It's the result of everything you've endured up to now. It's the culmination of every signal you've sent. And the choice you make next will determine whether it fades into nothing or becomes the turning point of your life. Right now you are being tested, not by me, not by fate, but by yourself. Can you hold your focus? Can you resist the urge to click away and sink back into comfort? Because the way you handle this tiny moment of focus says everything about how you handle the bigger moments of your life. If you can't even give yourself permission to pause and listen, how will you give yourself permission to create, to build, to fight for something greater? This isn't just a video. This is a mirror. And what you see in it depends on whether you have the courage to keep looking. So here's what I know. You are here because you're different. You're here because you've proven in invisible ways that you have endurance, grit, and resilience most people will never have. And I'm not interested in comforting you. I'm interested in challenging you to prove that this wasn't just another moment you let pass, but the moment where you decided to start something bigger. Don't make the mistake of thinking this is random. Don't tell yourself this is just another speech, just another voice online. It isn't. It's your signal reflected back at you. You've already sent it. I've already seen it. Now the only question left is whether you will strengthen it or let it fade. You stopped. You listened. You proved you're not like the rest. That's the beginning, not the end. And from here, every choice you make will either amplify that signal or bury it back in the noise. Don't bury it. Don't waste it. Because this is not random. This is your moment. And if you have the courage to act, it can be the one that changes everything. Life is not about how long you exist. It's about what you do with the time you have. People confuse existing with living, but they are not the same thing. Existing is mechanical. You wake up, you eat, you work, you sleep, and you repeat. A machine can do that, a program can do that, but living is different. Living requires intention, purpose, and the willingness to take risks. If you're only existing, you're operating on someone else's script. You're following the pattern society wrote for you, and you'll reach the end of your days without ever having written a single line of your own story. That's the tragedy of most lives. They never actually get lived, only endured. Ask yourself this: what is life for? Why are you here? Don't give me cliches. Don't tell me you're here to be happy or to get by. Happiness is not the goal. It's the byproduct of doing something meaningful. Getting by is not a mission, it's a surrender. If you're alive, your job isn't just to survive, it's to build, to create, to push, to explore. The only reason humans crawled out of caves and built civilizations is because a few people weren't satisfied with just existing. They were willing to look at the world and say, there has to be more. And they acted on it. When I started SpaceX, I wasn't thinking, how do I make money with rockets? I was asking, do we want humanity to exist on only one planet forever, vulnerable to extinction, or do we want to expand our presence into the stars? That's not a business plan, that's a purpose. Tesla wasn't born from the idea of selling cars, it was born from the question, do we want to keep burning fossil fuels until the planet is uninhabitable, or do we want to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy? These weren't safe questions, they weren't comfortable questions, but they were real, and they demanded answers. That's what life is supposed to be. A set of questions you are brave enough to confront, and actions you are willing to take even when everyone tells you it's impossible. The truth is, existing is cheap. Billions of people exist. Billions of people wake up and perform the same patterns every day. They trade their time for money, they sacrifice their energy for routines that drain them, and they justify it by saying, that's just how life is. But no, that's not life. That's the minimum requirement for staying alive. Life doesn't begin until you decide to stop repeating and start creating. Until you ask yourself, what impact am I leaving? What problem am I solving? What future am I building? If you can't answer those questions, then you're not living, you're drifting. And drifting is dangerous because drifting feels safe. The current carries you, the noise numbs you, the routine sedates you. But drift long enough, and you'll wake up realizing you've spent decades going nowhere. That's not living, that's slow motion death. Living, real living, is not comfortable. It's risky, it's filled with uncertainty. But it's also filled with discovery, growth, and moments that matter. When you live with intention, you don't need to be told what to do every morning. You wake up driven, even when you're tired. You wake up curious, even when the answers are hard. You wake up building, not just enduring. You don't have to change the whole world to live a meaningful life, but you do have to change something. Solve a problem in your community. Build something that outlasts you. Create art that moves people. Raise children who think bigger than you did. Living means pushing beyond your own needs and adding value to the system of humanity. Because the paradox of life is this: the more you give it purpose beyond yourself, the more it gives you back in fulfillment. So let's get real. Are you living, or are you just existing? If your life looks like a loop you can't escape, then you're existing. If your biggest risk this year was ordering something different on the menu, then you're existing. If you're waiting for permission to pursue your dreams, then you're existing. And if you're settling for good enough because chasing greatness feels too hard, then you're existing. Existing is easy, existing is safe, but existing will leave you invisible. Living will make you undeniable. Living is when you choose to stand up and pursue something bigger than comfort. Living is when you take the risk of failing because the alternative, not trying, is worse. Living is when you allow yourself to look foolish, to be misunderstood, to be doubted, but you keep moving anyway because the mission matters more than the noise. Living is when you stop asking, what if I fail, and start asking, what if I don't? Think about the people you admire, the ones history remembers. Were they the ones who played it safe, who existed quietly, who never stepped out of line? Number? They were the ones who risked being wrong, who risked being ridiculed, who risked everything to move the needle of human progress forward. That doesn't mean you have to be an inventor or an entrepreneur. It means you have to live with the same courage in your own context, in your own story. Whether it's starting the business you've been afraid to start, leaving the relationship that's been holding you back, speaking up in the room where you've been silent, or pursuing the dream that everyone around you calls unrealistic living, means refusing to stay small. The clock is running. Every second you spend just existing is a second you'll never get back. You don't get refunds on wasted time. The harsh truth is that most people will reach the end of their lives realizing they never actually lived, only went through the motions. Don't let that be you. Don't trade your one shot at life for a safe existence that no one will remember, not even you. So here's the challenge. Stop drifting. Stop existing. Decide right now to live with purpose. Decide that your life will mean something. Decide that you will confront the questions most people are too afraid to ask. Decide that you will build, create, risk, and endure. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need courage, you need clarity, and you need to start now. Because life is not about how long you exist. Life is about how far you're willing to go. It's about how much of yourself you're willing to pour into something that outlasts you. It's about leaving behind more than you found. That's what separates the ones who existed from the ones who truly lived. And the fact that you're still here, listening to this, tells me you're ready to choose living over existing. The only question left is whether you will. Wealth is one of the most misunderstood words in human history. Most people believe wealth is about money, about stacking up numbers in a bank account, about having more than the person next to you. But money is not wealth, it is a side effect of wealth. Money is like the smoke, not the fire. The fire is value. True wealth comes from creating value that didn't exist before, from solving problems that others couldn't or wouldn't touch, from making life better, faster, cleaner, more sustainable, more inspiring. If you chase money for its own sake, you'll always be running, and even if you catch it, you'll feel empty. But if you chase value, money will follow as a byproduct, and more importantly, you'll create impact that can't be taken away. Think about it. If you wake up every day asking, how do I get more money? You're already starting from the wrong premise. Money itself has no meaning. $100 bill is just paper and ink. A number in a digital account is just data. It only matters because it represents the exchange of value between humans. If you want more money, the only sustainable way is to give more value to more people. Tesla wasn't born from a desire to sell cars, it was born from the need to solve a massive global problem. SpaceX wasn't created to make me rich, it was created because I didn't want humanity to die as a single planet species. These weren't money, chasing moves, they were value, creating missions. And because the value was undeniable, the money came. The problem with most people is that they confuse income with wealth. They think a bigger paycheck equals more wealth. But income is fragile. If you lose the job, the paycheck stops. If the market shifts, the income disappears. Value, on the other hand, endures. If you've built skills, if you've built systems, if you've built products, if you've built companies that solve problems, that's wealth. Because no matter where you are, you can rebuild, you can adapt, you can keep creating. That's why wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the problems you've solved and the number of lives you've impacted. Now, let's be brutally honest. Chasing money is easy, at least at the start. You can get a job, you can trade your time for a salary, you can hustle for a quick buck, but chasing money without value is unsustainable. You'll burn out, or worse, you'll succeed and realize success tastes hollow. That's why so many people who make it financially are still miserable. They thought the number in the account would fill the void, but it doesn't. You can't feed your soul with numbers. You can only feed it with meaning. And meaning comes from value. Value creation is hard. It requires you to think differently, to go deeper, to see what others miss. It requires what I call first principles thinking, breaking a problem down to its fundamental truths and reasoning up from there. Most people operate by analogy. They say, this is how it's always been done. And so they copy, they imitate, they play within the same box as everyone else. But wealth is created by the ones who break the box. Electric cars were considered impossible until Tesla. Reusable rockets were considered science fiction until SpaceX. If I had listened to conventional wisdom, I'd have been chasing incremental gains, not exponential change. Wealth comes from asking, what if the assumptions are wrong? What if there's a better way? What if the impossible isn't actually impossible? If you want real wealth, stop asking, how do I get rich? And start asking, whose problem can I solve? Whose life can I improve? What system can I make more efficient? What barrier can I remove? Every fortune in history was built on solving a problem. Henry Ford didn't just build cars, he made transportation affordable to the masses. Steve Jobs didn't just build computers, he redefined how humans interact with technology. Value creates wealth, and wealth sustains itself because value never goes out of style. Problems never stop existing, and the ones who solve them will always be needed. There's another truth most people ignore. Wealth isn't just about business. You can create wealth in relationships, in communities, in knowledge. A teacher who inspires generations of students has created enormous wealth in the form of human potential. A doctor who finds a cure has created wealth in the form of life itself. Wealth is not measured only in money, it's measured in impact. If you've left the world better than you found it, you are wealthy. If your name lives on in the systems you've built, the lives you've touched, the changes you've sparked, you are wealthy. But let's not romanticize it. Building value is hard work. It's long nights, it's failure after failure, it's sacrifice that most people aren't willing to endure. When SpaceX failed 3 launches in a row, people laughed. Investors walked away. The world said it was impossible. That moment could have ended everything. But I believe the value is too great to quit. And on the 4th launch, we succeeded. That's wealth. Not the money that followed, but the value created by refusing to accept defeat. So what about you? Are you chasing money, or are you building value? Be honest with yourself. If your days are consumed with the thought of paychecks, bills, and income, you're trapped in the survival loop. If your days are consumed with the thought of creating something bigger than yourself, then you're on the path to wealth. Don't mistake comfort for wealth. Don't mistake accumulation for achievement. Wealth is not having more. It's becoming more. It's not stacking numbers. It's stacking impact. Ask yourself, if all the money disappeared tomorrow, would I still have wealth? Would I still have skills, systems, ideas, resilience, and impact that no one could take from me? If the answer is no, then you've been chasing smoke instead of fire. If the answer is yes, then you've built the kind of wealth that endures. The world will always try to convince you to chase quick money. The world will reward shortcuts, trends, easy wins. But easy wins don't last. Real wealth does. And it always comes from value. So start there. Stop asking for money. Start asking where the problems are. Stop asking how to get more. Start asking how to give more. Stop measuring your worth in dollars. Start measuring it in impact. Because at the end of the day, no one remembers the number in your bank account. They remember the problems you solved, the value you created, the lives you touched. That's wealth. That's the kind of wealth no market crash, no downturn, no failure can erase. And if you commit to building it, not only will money follow, but meaning will follow too. And meaning is the only currency that never loses value. Love is the most powerful energy in the universe, and yet most people misunderstand it. They treat love like decoration, like a bonus, like something soft and secondary, but it isn't. Love is fuel. It's the strongest motivator known to humanity. It's what has driven people to build civilizations, to cross oceans, to invent, to fight, to endure, and to sacrifice. Without love, wealth feels empty, life feels mechanical, and even success feels meaningless. You can create companies, build technologies, and accumulate achievements, but if you don't have someone to share it with, if you don't have a vision of the future that includes love, then what's the point? People often think of love only in terms of romance, but love is bigger than that. Love is about connection, about shared purpose, about alignment with something beyond yourself. It's the energy that makes you stay up late to care for a child, the drive that makes you protect your family, the loyalty that keeps you standing by someone even when it's hard. Love is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about seeing flaws and still choosing to move forward together. It's about looking at another human being and saying, I see the future, and I want to build it with you. That is love, and that is energy strong enough to outlast almost anything. If life is about meaning, and wealth is about value, then love is about vision. Because real love isn't about flowers and chocolates, it's about building. It's about co-creating a story that neither person could write alone. Love means aligning two futures into one, and that alignment can move mountains. When two people believe in the same horizon, they become unstoppable. A team of two with love can outlast an army of thousands without it. And the same is true in business, in communities, in humanity as a whole. Love is the root of trust, the seed of collaboration, the bond that makes risk worth taking. I'll tell you something that sounds obvious but is often ignored. The strongest humans are not the ones who chase achievement alone, they're the ones who build with love as their foundation. Think about it. Why do parents sacrifice everything for their children? Why do soldiers put themselves in harm's way for their comrades? Why do inventors keep working even after 100 failures? It's not ego. It's not greed. It's love. Love for a child, for a community, for humanity itself. And that love becomes energy, an engine that keeps going when logic says stop. I've built companies, I've worked through nights when exhaustion nearly crushed me, I've faced ridicule, doubt, and failure, and I'll tell you this. If I hadn't had love for the mission itself, love for the future I believed in, I would have quit. Logic alone isn't enough to sustain you when the world turns against you. Love is what bridges the gap between reason and resilience. Love is what keeps you standing when everything else collapses. But here's the uncomfortable truth about love. It's vulnerable. To love means to risk. To love means to expose yourself to loss, to disappointment, to heartbreak. And that's why so many people settle for shallow connections. They think safety is more important than depth. They think control is more important than vulnerability. But the strongest energy can't be harnessed without risk. If you avoid love because you fear the pain, you also avoid the power it gives you. Love is dangerous, but it's worth it, because nothing grows without risk, and nothing lasts without love. Now let's talk about you. Maybe you've been carrying the weight of expectations to be the perfect partner, the perfect parent, the perfect professional. Maybe you've been told that love is weakness, that you should harden yourself, that you should focus only on results. But I'll tell you the opposite. Love is strength. Love is the greatest competitive advantage you can have. A person who works only for themselves will stop when it gets hard. A person who works for love will keep going no matter what. So ask yourself, who or what do you love enough to keep building for, even when it hurts? Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your mission. Maybe it's humanity itself. Whatever it is, that love is your most powerful fuel. Protect it, nurture it, don't ignore it. Because if you cut yourself off from love, you cut yourself off from the very energy that could have carried you through your biggest challenges. Love also demands honesty. It strips away the polished image you present to the world. You can fool strangers, you can even fool yourself for a while, but you can't fool love. Love exposes you. It shows whether you're really building or just pretending. And that's why love is not just an emotion, it's a mirror. It reflects the truth of who you are and forces you to confront it. That confrontation is uncomfortable, but it's also transformative, because the version of you that emerges when tested by love is always stronger than the one that hides from it. Wealth without love is greed. Life without love is emptiness. Power without love is tyranny. But wealth with love creates abundance. Life with love creates joy. Power with love creates legacy. That's why love is not optional. It's essential. It's the strongest energy we have. And if you learn to channel it, to live by it, to build with it, you will become unstoppable. So here's the challenge. Stop treating love like a bonus, like something secondary. Start treating it like the engine it is. Ask yourself who you're willing to suffer for, who you're willing to risk for, who you're willing to keep building for even when everything falls apart. That's your source of power. That's your strongest energy. And when you harness it, there's nothing you can't endure, nothing you can't build, nothing you can't achieve. Love is not weakness. Love is not distraction. Love is the force that has carried humanity through every era, every crisis, every impossible dream. It is the fuel behind progress, the reason we fight, the reason we hope, the reason we endure. Without love, you can exist, you can even succeed by some measures, but you cannot truly live. And you cannot leave a legacy worth remembering. So don't run from it. Don't downplay it. Don't fear it. Embrace it, protect it, and let it drive you. Because love is the strongest energy in the universe, and if you choose to live by it, you will build not just a life, but a future worth everything it takes to get there. The greatest obstacles you face are not always the ones you can see. They're not the walls built out of concrete, not the gates locked with keys, not the obvious barriers placed in your path. The greatest obstacles are the invisible chains, the expectations, the doubts, the rules that society whispers into your mind until you start believing them. These chains don't weigh on your body, they weigh on your choices. They don't block the road, they block your imagination. They are the silent restrictions that convince you to play small, to stay safe, to stop reaching before you even stretch your hand. And the dangerous part is this: most people don't even realize they're chained. You've been told since you were young what's realistic and what's not. You've been told to stay in line, to follow the script, to aim for security, to pursue comfort instead of risk. The world doesn't have to build prisons for dreamers because it builds cages in their minds. It tells you what you should want, how far you're allowed to go, who you're allowed to be. And slowly, link by link, those chains tighten until people stop trying to break them. They call it maturity. They call it responsibility. But really, it's surrender. Think about how many times you've heard the words "be realistic." That phrase has killed more dreams than failure ever has. Be realistic is society's way of pulling you back into the box. It's the invisible guardrail designed to keep you from making the world uncomfortable. Because if you dream too big, if you act too boldly, if you break too many rules, you remind everyone else of their own chains, and they'd rather you sit quietly beside them than prove that freedom is possible. When I started SpaceX, people called me crazy. They said reusable rockets were impossible, that private space exploration was a joke, that I was wasting money, time, and sanity. Those words weren't just criticism, they were chains. They were society's attempt to pull me back into their version of what's realistic, and for a moment, I felt the weight of those chains. But here's the truth. Chains only hold you if you let them. I refused to wear them. I refused to live in someone else's version of reality. And because of that refusal, rockets now land themselves, and the future of humanity looks different. You have chains too. They might not look like mine, but they are just as heavy. Maybe it's the voice in your head that says you're not smart enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough. Maybe it's the unspoken rule in your workplace that tells you to stay quiet when you should speak. Maybe it's the cultural expectation that tells you to prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own dreams. Maybe it's the doubt planted by people close to you, telling you to stop before you embarrass yourself. Those chains are invisible, but they are real, and they are powerful if you don't recognize them. But here's the secret. Every chain has a weak link. Every doubt has a flaw. Every expectation can be broken. The weak link is belief. The moment you stop believing the voice that says you can't, the chain loses its grip. The weak link is courage. The moment you act despite fear, the chain snaps. The weak link is choice. The moment you decide your life belongs to you and not to the world's script, the chain shatters. Breaking chains is not easy. It's not a single act, it's a daily decision. Every time you say no to the voices that hold you back, you break a link. Every time you take a step forward when others expect you to stay still, you weaken the chain. Every time you refuse to shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort, you set yourself freer. But freedom isn't granted. It's taken, and it's taken one choice at a time. I'm not saying this to make you feel good. I'm saying this because if you don't break your chains, no one will. The world benefits from you staying small. Systems profit when you settle for less. Entire industries are built on people distracting themselves instead of pursuing their purpose. You have to decide whether you will stay bound or whether you will break free. And that decision can't be delayed, because every day you wait, the chains grow tighter, the links harden, and the escape feels less possible. The irony is that the world calls dreamers unrealistic, but every breakthrough in history was built by someone who refused to be realistic. Airplanes were unrealistic. The internet was unrealistic. Electric cars were unrealistic. Reusable rockets were unrealistic. Until they weren't. Reality changes because someone refuses to accept the chains. Someone decides to live by first principles, not by hand-me-down assumptions. Someone says, "Why not?" instead of, "Be realistic." That someone can be you, if you have the courage to reject the invisible limits placed on you. So ask yourself right now, what are your chains? Where did they come from? Whose voice are you still carrying that tells you to stay small? Because once you name them, you can break them. Once you recognize them, you can refuse them. And once you refuse them, you'll realize they were never as strong as they felt. Breaking chains doesn't mean life gets easier. It usually gets harder, because freedom comes with responsibility, but it also comes with possibility. When you break the chains, the road isn't safe, but it's yours. The risks are bigger, but so are the rewards. And more than anything, you stop living someone else's life and start living your own. So here's the challenge. Stop carrying the invisible weight that doesn't belong to you. Stop believing the lie that comfort is safety. Stop obeying the script that others wrote for you. Your life doesn't belong to their expectations. Your future doesn't belong to their limits. break the chains, and build something that proves freedom is possible. Because if you don't, those chains will define you. But if you do, you'll define yourself, and maybe you'll even redefine the world. Success is not built in the spotlight, it is forged in silence. The world sees the victories, the headlines, the achievements, but it never sees the quiet nights when nothing seems to work, when every part of you wants to quit, when no one is watching, and no one would blame you if you stopped. Endurance is the ability to keep going in those moments, to keep building when the noise of doubt is louder than the whisper of progress. Most people don't understand this. They think success comes from talent, from luck, from being in the right place at the right time. But the truth is, success is built on endurance, on the accumulation of silent battles that no one applauds you for, but that shape you into someone unbreakable. When SpaceX failed 3 launches in a row, the world laughed. They said it was over, that we had proven the critics right, that reusable rockets were nothing but fantasy. We had burned through money, through time, through credibility. Everyone was watching us fail, and the pressure was unbearable. But those were the moments that defined us. Because instead of quitting, we endured. We recalculated, we rebuilt, we stayed up through the night running simulations and tests, and we launched again. On the 4th attempt, we succeeded, and everything changed. That one success was built on years of silent endurance, on the thousands of hours when the cameras weren't rolling. Endurance is the difference between those who fade away and those who make history. You fought your own silent battles too. Maybe not with rockets, but with responsibilities no one else noticed, with sacrifices no one else acknowledged, with doubts no one else heard. You've carried burdens in the dark, kept moving through exhaustion, pushed forward even when it felt pointless. And those choices built you. Every late night you endured, every rejection you survived, every step you took when you didn't know if it would matter, those are the bricks of your foundation. People may not see them, but they are what make you strong. The reason endurance is so powerful is because it compounds. Every time you endure, you prove to yourself that you can survive more than you thought, and that belief becomes fuel. It means that the next time you face a storm, you don't break as easily. It means that when the world tells you no, you know how to keep moving until you turn it into yes. Endurance trains you to carry weight that would crush most people. It builds muscle not just in your body, but in your mind, in your character, in your spirit. And when the defining moment comes, when the opportunity finally arrives, it's not your talent that will save you, it's your endurance. But endurance is uncomfortable, and that's why most people avoid it. They want shortcuts, hacks, quick wins, easy money, instant results. They quit as soon as it gets hard, and then they wonder why nothing changes. Endurance means staying when it's boring, pushing when it's exhausting, believing when it looks hopeless. Endurance means doing the work even when the reward is nowhere in sight. It's not glamorous. It doesn't get likes or applause, but it's the only path to something real. Think of life as a marathon. At the start, there's energy, excitement, cheering crowds, but by mile 15, the crowd disappears. It's just you, the road, and the voice in your head telling you to stop. That's where most people quit. They mistake silence for failure. They think no one is watching, so it doesn't matter. But that's where endurance begins. The ones who keep running in the silence are the ones who eventually cross the finish line. And when they do, everyone cheers as if it was inevitable, never realizing the victory was built in the miles no one saw. You already know what it means to endure. You've done it in ways you don't even credit yourself for, staying up late to finish something important while everyone else slept, holding yourself together when you wanted to break, trying again after being told no, carrying responsibilities that stretched you thin. None of it was glamorous, but all of it mattered. Those choices are the invisible proof of your strength, and the fact that you are here now still listening means you already have endurance in your DNA. The challenge is to use it deliberately, to turn endurance into a strategy instead of just a survival mechanism. Endurance without direction is just pain, but endurance tied to purpose becomes unstoppable. It means you can outlast failures, outlast critics, outlast setbacks, because you know why you're enduring. That's how revolutions are built. Not on talent alone, but on the persistence to keep building long after others have quit. So here's the truth. You will be tested again. Life will put weight on your shoulders. It will push you to the edge. It will try to break you. And if you think you'll survive just because you want to, you're wrong. You'll survive because you've trained yourself to endure. Because you've proven in the dark, in the silence, in the moments no one saw, that you can keep going. And when the next storm comes, you won't just survive it, you'll use it as fuel. Endurance is not about avoiding pain. It's about transforming pain into progress. It's about understanding that every setback can be a step forward if you refuse to quit. The scars you carry aren't signs of weakness, they're evidence of battles endured. They are proof that you didn't give up when you could have, and that proof is priceless. It's the foundation you'll stand on when the defining moment comes. So don't underestimate your silent battles. Don't dismiss the times you endured as meaningless. They are the most important part of your story. They are what make you unshakable when the pressure is on. And if you commit to endurance, if you keep moving when others stop, you will separate yourself from almost everyone else. Because talent fades, luck runs out, but endurance endures. So here's my challenge. The next time you face silence, don't mistake it for failure. The next time you feel invisible, don't assume it doesn't matter. The next time you want to quit, remind yourself that endurance is the currency of greatness. Keep going, keep building, keep enduring, because those silent battles are not wasted. They are shaping you into someone who can't be broken, someone who will be ready when the world finally turns its eyes on you. And when that day comes, you'll know the truth. It wasn't the spotlight that made you. It was the endurance you built in the dark.